Hi everyone! This week has been a milestone for my channel. I recently have attained about 500 subscribers and I'm so thankful for all your support. Making video has been a great way for me to reach out to others, and most importantly, it's a great way of taking notes to keep track of my growing process and results. Something I wanted to let you know is that I recently added a change to my channel name. It's now Mama's Orchids and Backyard, to include more things that I would like to post. I will occasionally post other hobbies from my backyard, such as growing vegetables and flowers or caring for our pet turtles. I hope you will enjoy them as a small break from orchids. I also wanted you to know that I don't post regularly because I'm really busy, often taking care of a household. I am a mom of 3 boys. Though one is in college, they still demand a lot of my time. Lately, I am even busier than normal because it's springtime here and it's busiest time for me to get the vegetable and the flower garden started. That part should slow down in a couple of weeks once I get everything in the ground. Well, let's get started with today's topic on propagating Maxillaria Tenuifolia, or famously also called the coconut orchid for its scent. If you grow Maxillaria Tenuifolia, you probably have propagated them before. You might have had a tall leggy plant and wanted to eventually trim the plant, and you may have cut back some of the pseudobulbs that are on the 2nd or 3rd tier or higher up to bring it down to a shorter height. I recall doing this before on my red Tenuifolia, and it took a long time to root, and the pseudobulb shriveled and eventually it pumped back up again. I remember it took months, and sometimes some of the leaves will drop. I remember also doing this in the summertime a few years ago. Well, it is in the dead middle of winter that I am doing this propagation at this time, and it's to rescue a cold damaged Maxillaria. I have found a faster and more sure way to propagate it, and it's no rocket science, of course, but I thought I'd share with you my method anyhow. You can try this method to propagate, as it is more of an assured and speedier method than the traditional potting it in sphagnum moss. In fact, when I used the sphagnum moss method in the middle of winter, I did not have good success. The pseudobulb ended up shriveled and the leaf dropped. So if you recalled, I ordered a yellow Maxillaria Tenuifolia variety Yamada in December, and unfortunately parts of it froze. So I'm going to try to salvage the plant by rooting the pseudobulbs that are still viable. I think there may be about 3 left that did not freeze, but we will dissect it and find out. We're in the middle of winter and plants don't like to root when it's so cold, and we'll have to help it a little more. So I'm going to try this method where you propagate in water in a warm window, direct sunlight, to heat up the water. I hope it doesn't rot before the roots come out. Alright, let's take a look at what we have done. Unfortunately, I did not film the beginning of the process where I took the plant apart, but I will try to explain what I had done. I unpotted the orchid and inspected each of the pseudobulb and saw that some had rotten at the base and at the stem. A large portion of the lower part of the plant is rotten. Let me see if I can rearrange the plant to its original form so you can see where I had cut it. I separated the good pseudobulbs from the rotten pseudobulbs. Here is where I suggest cutting. So take a pair of clean scissors and cut it right here. I would suggest you don't tear it, cut it, because if you tear it, the force would tend to pull and rip the roots from the lower pseudobulbs. You can cut it midway on the stem, but I choose to cut it right here, leaving a 1/4 inch or less behind. There were 2 more pseudobulbs right here and here. That's where I cut. All along here is potential for new roots or new pseudobulbs. I stripped the covering along the stem to help expose it to water more directly. Now, you would normally not have to go to this great length to propagate Maxillaria Tenuifolia, but remember that I'm doing this in less than ideal condition. It's winter, and the longer we wait to root the pseudobulb, the more shrivel up it will be because it'll be not uptaking water. I'm not sure if the pseudobulb can sustain itself without uptaking water until the spring, so we need to root it quickly, I think. See how there's some roots starting already? Try to keep the stem long as possible to get more root growth. When you strip off the covering, be careful not to damage the new growth tips. There's a green growth area that I'm going to avoid not to snap off when I pull the covering. Try to also pull the covering sideways, which makes it a cleaner tear and it prevents less fiber being pulled along. To root the pseudobulbs, first I tried putting them in sphagnum moss and then placed it in a bright window. Nothing happened in almost a month after the pseudobulbs were shrinking. Then I decided to place the pseudobulbs in a clear jar with water. I would rinse the jar and change the water every week for about a month, and I saw bits of roots lengthening. I think it would be even better if you have a heating pad set at the lowest temperature or a seed germination heating pad to place the jar on. This would increase the temperature and stimulate root growth. Now, if you're doing this in the middle of summer, the moss method probably works. I don't think it would work as quickly, though, as propagating in water. I took it a step further, and this is what really made a big difference. I added a low strength of Super Thrive, and within a week, the roots were very noticeably longer. I mixed a quarter spoon of Super Thrive to a gallon of water proportion. If you don't have Super Thrive, I think a low-dose seaweed fertilizer should work as well. Here is what the roots look like after a week in Super Thrive mix. I'm going to let the roots develop a little more in water for another week before I start potting the pieces. The best time to propagate Maxillaria Tenuifolia, if you are not subject to immediate rescue, like in this situation, is after it blooms and when it's hot outside, above 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot weather encourages roots to develop. But if you do it in the summertime, don't place the pseudobulbs in direct sunlight. Now, I am not completely out of luck with just 3 pseudobulbs because Carmela did send me a replacement orchid. They are a great place to do business with because they stand behind their product and they have always answered my emails very quickly. I hope you support them. I do not have any affiliation with them, just speaking from my experience. So in a couple of weeks or so, when the roots of the 3 pseudobulbs are even longer, I will add those pseudobulbs to the pot that you see here. Just a quick update on my regular red Maxillaria Tenuifolia that I have had for many years now. There's a lot of buds developing and I can't wait to share the blooms with you in a month or so. I also have a video on how to bloom Maxillaria Tenuifolia. I'll put a link at the description below if you want to check it out. Well, I hope you try propagating Maxillaria Tenuifolia. Whichever way you choose to do it, I'm sure it'll become successful. It's a super easy orchid to propagate. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please subscribe. I would love your support, and I hope to catch you on the next video. In fact, I hope to get the next 1 or 2 out soon. It's one of them is an Orchid Haul from Hauserman. So bye, everyone.